What up, sports fans? Waxon Wednesday, Jake Waxman, Tom Lavaletta, Two Guys Talk Sports. Let's get the show on the road. All right, so let me begin by giving you guys my first impressions of Purdue basketball in the 2024-2025 regular season. All right, so I will say this. First of all, defensively, it's going to take some time for this Purdue team to build a rhythm. And same with the offensive side, but more particularly on the defensive side. So again, so it was actually a really close game between Purdue and A&M Corpus Christi, and give the Islanders of Texas A&M Corpus Christi a lot of credit. They hung in there with Purdue, like they were undaunted by the atmosphere of Mackey Arena. They played hard. Just in the end, Purdue just had a little too much, but it took everything that Purdue had just to put them away in the end. So that was actually a pretty good game, and it does raise some concerns. Being a Boilermaker fan, that does raise some concerns for me, but I also understand in this was a game where Painter is more or less playing with different lineups. So there's not really an official starting lineup for Purdue just yet this season, and for many basketball teams, that's also going to be the case. This is the point of the season where you get matchups like that, and you're kind of figuring out, okay, what line and matchups, non-conference matchups like these, you're trying to figure out, okay, what lineups are going to work and what's not. As a Purdue fan, we'll learn more about what Painter has in mind come this Friday against the Northern Kentucky, but not going to learn much in Game 1. So, all right, the three returning stars of Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, and Trey Kaufman-Renn. Those guys, they look good, all right? Not perfect. I mean, they weren't perfect in this game, but they're playing it up to the potential they should be playing. That is for sure. And Braden Smith especially, continuing to do his best to get as many guys involved on the offense as possible. Miles Colvin, that's a guy that I look at that could be Purdue's breakout star this year. He looks like he wants it. Regardless of how much, I hope he gets more minutes as the season goes on, but I know coming off the bench will be great for him because he wants it. He's a competitor, that is for sure. And then I mentioned the center position. Okay, that's one of the big concerns I have for Purdue. I will say this: I'm going to talk about freshman Daniel Jacobson for just a little bit. Okay, so based on what I saw in this first game, he's still green. Like, this is a guy that it's going to take some time to build him up, and he's going to need a year hitting the weight room, of course, to build up muscle because he's a skinny guy, to say the least. But there's also a lot of promise with Jacobson. He had a big second half, hit a total of about 13 points in the game. Really like his rim protection defense. So, like I said, going to be some growing, like this for this basketball team. Jacobson, he's going to have some growing pains, not physically, but in terms of learning the game. But a lot of promise with this guy, and so far, I'd have to say in terms of the center position, which Purdue's got question marks for this season, Jacobson looks like the best option. And the other center is Will Berg. While he did have 5 points in this game, we'll see how many minutes he gets. I've got concerns for him. It pains me to say this, but he may just not be ready for this kind of level of college basketball after all. And he's a redshirt sophomore. But I'm just not sure he's ready for many more minutes. I've got a lot of concerns about Cam Heide, too, at the moment, who's one of Purdue's forwards. Last season, there were times where he looked flashy. He's got the athleticism, of course, and then he had that dunk in the championship against UConn. But so far this season, he is, you could say, MIA, to be honest. He did not score a single point in Purdue's opening game. And in the exhibition games, he's also been kind of nowhere to be seen. So, I like Cam Heide, but will the real Cam Heide please stand up? The one we saw from last season that wasn't afraid to take chance. Like, he's had some open looks in the 3 games that Purdue has played, exhibition and the first regular season game, but he hasn't really taken his shot just yet. Got to stop hesitating. That's what I've noticed out of Cam Heide, and we need more action from him. Also, in terms of the freshmen, I'm really curious to see what Raleigh Burgess brings to the table. I thought he might redshirt, but that's not going to be the case. He seems to have a lot of speed and athleticism, and I think he's one of those players who could get better as time goes along. as the season goes along. I really like what I see from the other two freshmen, Jakari Harris and C.J. Cox. I'll start with Harris. Okay, maybe not his best first game, but there's a lot of promise on that table. He's got a shot, plays defense, like he can shoot the three. And Harris, and part of it is he's taking, give Corpus Christi some credit. They were putting a lot of pressure on Purdue's guards, and this is the first time that Jakari Harris was feeling a lot of pressure. So it'll be a learning process for him, but I do like what I see from him. And then there's C.J. Cox. All right, if you're going to wear number 0 at Purdue, hey, big shoes to fill. I mean, that's Mason Gillis. You got to have that effort. And you know what? C.J. Cox, the best thing I can say about him right now is he is already endearing himself to Boilermaker Nation. Okay, Purdue fans already love this guy. He's a competitor. And especially on the defensive end, he's a pest. Literally, there was one moment in the game where Corpus Christi had the ball, and as they were going up, C.J. Cox on their end of the floor poked it away and forced a tie-up. And Mackey was just going nuts over it. So, this is a guy, it'll be a growing process for all of Purdue's freshmen. But C.J. Cox right now, he's already endearing himself to the Purdue fans. So, and of course, this is the first game ever for Purdue in the post-Zach Edey era. So, a lot of adjustments to be made. And still a ways to go for this Purdue team. So, I'm not too concerned. So, little things right now I'm worried about. But, we're not going to figure that out until, when we go play a game, against Alabama, which is upcoming this month. So, these are just warm. Right now, the next game's going to be a warm-up. And then the first true test, I would say, which is against Yale. That's going to be key, right? Deciding, okay, where this team is at. So, right now, Painter's just playing with a lot of different lineups. And right now, this is just all the things I've seen so far with this Purdue team. And so far, I got questions. Not in a concerning way, but just, still more to learn. And like I said, this will be a season with growing pains. A lot of freshmen, and Braden Smith now being the leader of this team, and no Zach Edey. However, I still think this is a team that's good enough to make the tournament, all right? Just small concerns for the time being. All right. And now we get to go into some subjects I really am not in a good mood to talk about, but well, the Chicago Bears, you guys know, are back. We've lost 2 games in a row. So they lose on a Hail Mary to the Washington Commanders. And how do the Bears respond? How do they respond against the Cardinals? They look flat for the full 60 minutes, scoring only 9 points, no touchdowns, 3 field goals, and Cardinals scored 29, of course, and just made us look all sorts of horrible. Team had to... If this is the response the Bears had after a Hail Mary, hey, if I'm a player on the Chicago Bears after something like a Hail Mary like that happened, I'd be pissed off. I want to come into the game pissed off and taking out my frustration on the other team. The Bears didn't look pissed off. They just looked more frustrated and not focused. Just no energy. And you know what? Caleb Williams did not have a good game. He looked like crap. You could say that. Offensive line. And the whole offense as a whole looked absolutely craptastic. The defense. Defense did not look good either. And in fact, it wouldn't surprise me if they gave up at some point due to the frustration of the offense not getting it. But you know what? Neither the defense nor the offense are to blame. And you know what? Caleb Williams is not to blame, nor is the offensive line. You want to put the blame on someone? Coaching staff. Easily. It's a coaching thing. This team mentally is just not ready, and Matt Eberflus is the big reason why. This guy brings no energy to the sideline and is constantly getting outcoached. I'm sorry, I'm done with Matt Eberflus. He needs to go, and you know what? The Bears should have just left him out in the desert. I'm sorry. I know that sounds cruel, but you know what? Okay, I don't mean as in actually leave him out actually in a desert, but they should have just told him, all right, you're done. You're no longer the coach of the Bears. You can find your own ride home. Or he should have at the very least been told, find your own plane home, because this is ridiculous. This guy, it's the coach's job to get this team ready to go. And Eberflus, from what I've known, so many games where the Bears could have won. So many road games. Last year and the year before, the Bears could have won. And coaching let the whole team down. Whether it's due to playing not to lose or just not having enough energy. And it's not just Matt Eberflus. Shane Waldron is in over his head right now. He is not helping Caleb Williams develop. He is hurting his development. So, the Bears have lost 2 games in a row, and now it's looking like they're going to miss the playoffs. Because Eberflus and Shane Waldron are just not capable of leading this team to new heights. And I just learned recently, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson actually wanted the Chicago Bears job. He wanted the head coaching job last season. And the only reason that I'm not going to say the only reason. So, one of the big reasons he stayed in Detroit was because the Bears told him, we're going to keep Matt Eberflus for one more season. Which is just bonkers to me. The Bears should have let him go after last year. It's more the same this year. I'm sorry, but Eberflus is not a good coach. Or at least not the coach the Bears need. So, regardless whether it's within the next few weeks or after the season, the Bears need to fire Matt Eberflus. And I'm all for going and getting Ben Johnson. Great offensive coordinator right now. Detroit's offense looks unstoppable, and he's a big reason why. Although it was smart of him to actually stay in Detroit for one more season and build his resume. But to think the Bears could have gotten him last year, but chose to hang on to Eberflus instead. All I got to say is they better hope they don't miss on him this upcoming off season. Ugh. But it's frustrating. Like, all right, I know the players also have to be held responsible. And Caleb Williams, he's not played his best, overthrown receivers. But coaching is letting him down. And by the way, coaching may have also got Caleb Williams hurt this week. Like I've heard he's dealing with with a small injury. We know it's not significant from what I've heard. It doesn't seem significant, and he should play this upcoming Sunday. But coaching should have pulled him out of that game when it was after I think the 5-minute mark, and they didn't, and almost got him seriously hurt. That's terrible coaching. Right now, Matt Eberflus is not a good coach. He's not the right coach for the Bears. Shane Waldron is not the right guy to help develop Caleb Williams. Neither one just... And you know what? Shame on the higher-ups of the Bears. And shame on Ryan Poles for keeping Matt Eberflus for 1 year. He's done Ryan Poles has done a great job building up this roster, but keeping Matt Eberflus for one more season, horrible, horrible mistake. And it's showing right now. Talented team, but the Bears right now, poorly coached. And once more, they're going to continue to lose more games than that they should win. Not saying that, and this is the reason why I didn't pick the Bears to go to the playoffs, because coaching. Matt Eberflus. And by the way, the Bears have not won a road game since 2021, and that was not in the first year under Matt Eberflus. That is unacceptable. And speaking of other things that's kind of making my gears grind. Oh boy. All right, Tyler Lavalette and to all NASCAR fans, brace yourselves for what I'm about to talk about, especially those who say the chase format is very, very good. I'm about to tear this down. So, if you watched the Martinsville race, or for those who didn't watch the Martinsville race, there was controversy at the end of it. Congrats to Ryan Blaney, by the way, who won the race. But of course, sadly, him getting to NASCAR's version of the Final Four is not the big storyline from this race. Oh, it's the mass manipulation. That's right. This Martinsville race, guys, just when you thought NASCAR couldn't get any things couldn't go any worse for NASCAR since Spingate 2013, guess what? 11 years later, another race that was mass manipulated. Oh my goodness. So from what I understand, I saw highlights. And for those of you who didn't see the race, Christopher Bell, who gained enough points to get into the Final Four, was actually disqualified in the race because of a safety violation. Apparently, he tried to do the Hail Melon, or tried to repeat the Hail Melon that Ross Chastain performed a couple seasons back, 2 seasons back. Only his was only a partial run. Although, I will say, I think NASCAR did make the right call on it, because he did ride the wall, and that's now in the rule book. So, rules are the rules. But it wasn't just that's got NASCAR fans fuming. Okay, so, this wasn't just like driver or team manipulation. This was what some label as OEM, or manufacturer manipulation, meaning that the makes, or the manufacturers, Ford, Chevy, Toyota, it was manipulation by those companies, especially Chevrolet and Toyota. Ford, from what I understand, had nothing to do with it. It was all Toyota and Chevy. You had William Byron, who ended up getting into the postseason, and a lot of that because apparently the 3 car and the 1 car refused to pass. Like, they just didn't even try to pass him. And then you had the 23 Toyota of Bubba Wallace, who said on the radio, I got a flat tire, but it didn't look like the tire was really going down. It looked like he actually slowed up to allow Christopher Bell to pass. Oh, so that's just what I've seen. And for those of you who've watched the race, you know. And those three, the 1, the 3, and the 23 were all penalized. Okay, right? That's the right call on that part. But you know what? Even if NASCAR did make the right calls in those situations, but this race, this controversial race, has exposed, once again, I'm just going to say this, NASCAR's point system has been exposed again. At Tyler Lavalette, and to all you NASCAR fans who like this format, I'm sorry. The NASCAR's version of the playoffs does not work. I'm sorry, it is terrible. It sucks. And the big reason now, and now there's a new big reason on the block, because of manipulation by other teams. Now it's easy. And I thought Richmond 2013 was bad. This was worse. Multiple cars, more cars. And now all that manipulation to get into the championship 4. Ooh. This is bad. This is very bad for NASCAR, all right? You can't... I'm sorry, I'm just trying to catch my breath. But this... Can't have this in any sport, whether it's the NFL, NHL, even in motorsports. Yeah. I just... Oh, sorry, guys. I'm running out of breath here just thinking about it. But after this season, the chase format cannot... The playoff format for NASCAR cannot continue. If I'm in charge of NASCAR, it's done. Because of this. This is the lowest moment in the history of the NASCAR playoffs. This is its lowest this is one of NASCAR's lowest moments right here. Because what it also... Another thing that it shows is that behind the scenes, the sanctioning body, that is NASCAR, has lost control. They've lost control of their sport. And that someone else is calling the shots, whether it's the teams or the manufacturers. Now, just on a side note, I don't think that NASCAR made the right calls on things, but I'm not sure they did enough. I'm just not sure the 24 of William Byron should have gone on. Like, if they were trying to help William Byron, then maybe he should have been disqualified too. And maybe there should have only been 3 competing for the championship 4. Considering that this manipulation was between both Chevy and Toyota. That shouldn't be happening. That's bad for auto racing. It's disgusting. This is really, really bad. And you know what, guys? It's the gimmicks again. And you know what? These gimmicks in NASCAR are one of the big reasons why I stopped watching this motorsport a long time ago. That's why I decided not to watch after Matt Kenseth retired. Because these gimmicks actually ruin the whole championship battle. And we get artificial drama. You know, and even some of the big names like Tony Stewart, they're getting out of the sport for this reason. It's putting the sport in a dark direction. It doesn't work. Look, get it this. Just look at it this way. All right, we want to be able. You know what? U-Tree said it best. You got to abandon the gimmicks. And getting rid of the chase or the playoffs is a good start for NASCAR. And you know what? After seeing this mass manipulation by makes like Toyota and Chevy, how can you continue this? Because there's only going to be more of this. Even if you keep penalizing teams for manipulation or safety violations, it's only going to continue. Because cheating is a big thing in NASCAR, sadly. So, honestly, in my opinion, after seeing what I saw in Martinsville, the playoff format, it needs to go the way of the dinosaurs. Extinct. NASCAR needs to do away with it. Or, you know what? Here's the thing. If you're going to keep the playoff format, it cannot be your official championship format. You know, if you want to keep it as like an exhibition, just a 10 race exhibition or mini series to showcase your best drivers, then fine. But you know what? The one change I would make right now, the regular season champion is now the true champion of that season. He gets the title. He or she. The best driver on the season should... Okay, the best drivers on the season should be contending for the titles. And the driver who earns the most points on the season for the full 36 race schedule, or the full 36 race schedule, wins the title. Simple as that. And you know what? Okay, so I'm gonna... IndyCar and Formula One have shown NASCAR you don't need these kind of gimmicks to have an exciting season of racing. Just let it play out, and you just never know what might happen. There can still be drama, even without gimmicks like the playoffs or it's the stage racing. Just let the drivers race. Simple as that. And keep team orders and manufacturer orders out of everything. So this is just my take on it. After seeing this kind of mass manipulation and cheating by the manufacturers, you know what? I'm sorry, not sorry. That's the end of the chase era. That is the end of the playoff era for NASCAR. You gotta go. If you want to make things better, go back to this formula. 36 races, and the best driver in those 36 races is the champion. And you know what? The one thing they should have done instead of a chase format, how about rewarding way more points for wins? That will separate the good drivers from the men. And much more points the higher you finish. Like, there needs to be bigger gaps between, like, first, second, third, and etc. Now, that's a whole different part of it. But, in conclusion, as much as I'm ranting about this, and you know what? My rant's is all for naught. Because sadly, knowing that the sanctioning body of NASCAR, they aren't going to do away with this anytime soon. Because Tyler told me that's what they want. That's so true. They want this drama, and they're proud of it. And you know what? Sadly, as long as NASCAR keeps this playoff format, all right, things are steady for the sport, but you know what? It's not going to draw in more. Like, if you're trying to draw in other people are just going to are not going to come in or get interested in this kind of racing because of how gimmicky it is. All right? Just let the drivers race. Like, if you had just if we had like the old Winston Cup points format with a few more like adjustments, there wouldn't be this drama. There wouldn't be this mass manipulation of such a race. This can't happen again. And, you know, I know NASCAR is not going to do anything about it because they're proud of their playoff format. They're too proud of it, in my opinion, to the point where one could say they're gaslighting their fans and the drivers and the owners too. So, and yes, nothing held back on this one, folks. Look, if you want things to get better after this, if NASCAR wants to do better things after this, wants things to get better, the playoff format they have right now, or the championship format they have right now, it cannot continue. It has to end after this season. Because if not, more drama and more manipulation coming our way. And sadly, it may not be their call from what I learned. It could be that someone else is running the show and not NASCAR themselves. That sadly would not surprise me. But if NASCAR wants to do things right, they got to step up, be courageous, and just say these manufacturers or whoever else is in charge, hey, we got to change this. This doesn't work. It's creating drama that just does not, that is just, not ideal. So, in conclusion to what I just said, look, after what happened at Martinsville, by the way, congrats to Ryan Blaney once more on the win. He deserved it, had a fast car. I just feel so bad for him because his big win and his chance to defend the title, or his title from a year ago, is being overshadowed, sadly, by the manipulative events that happened in this race. But if NASCAR truly wants to crack down on this manipulation, then you know what? It's time, and you know what? It's been a long time, to end the playoff, the NASCAR's version of the playoffs. To simply put it, it's time for the playoff system of NASCAR to end. You do that, you will end a lot of unnecessary drama and manipulation. Okay, that really riled me up because being a guy that used to be a NASCAR fan, like I said, one of the big reasons I stopped watching the sport was due to these gimmicks, and NASCAR still has not gone away from them, and it's a shame. And I feel really bad for NASCAR fans, and fans who love auto racing in general. They deserve a better racing product than this. And it's not just because the playoffs are an illegitimate way to decide a champion, because it's all decided in one race. Doesn't matter what you do for the first 35. But now, you can cheat your way into a Final Four in just the blink of an eye. All right, enough of this, though. On to this day in sports history. On this day, the 5th of November. Remember the 5th of November. 1978. Oakland Raiders' John Madden becomes the 13th coach to win 100 NFL games. All right, sports fans, that's all I got for this week's Waxon Wednesday. Let me know your thoughts below in the comments. And again, thank you for watching. And Jake Waxman from Two Guys Talk Sports, wishing you all a good week.